Sebastian Metal Martinez, MMA HEAT, here in Las Vegas for UFC 183 with none other than MMA HEATs and Fox Sports' Karyn Bryant. Karyn, how are you?
I'm great. It's good to see you again.
Likewise, likewise. We always bump into each other in Las Vegas.
I know. We should stop meeting this way.
Yeah. we got more laid back ways of doing it later on.
Yeah.
I was referring to a drink. I was referring to a drink, by the way.
Wow, we were just talking about how open you Swedes are sexually, and here we go.
Well, for once, I wasn't one actually thinking that way.
Yeah. All right.
Now, you got into reporting when?
Oh, geez. Well, it depends. If you're talking sports, I started doing sports in 2006 or so. I started working for Showtime Championship Boxing then. But before then, I'd been in television for a very long time, and I don't give away my age or something, but I was at MTV VJ way back in the day. So I've actually done a lot of television and reporting for years, but I used to do entertainment. So I was doing more talking to musicians and actors and that kind of thing, more kind of Hollywood stuff before I switched into sports.
Okay.
So.
And when did you get into MMA reporting?
Well, after working with Showtime Championship Boxing, I was with them for about 3.5 years. At the same time, we were starting to do MMA with Elite XC, and we had fights on CBS. So that whole thing with Kimbo, I was there. So if you, it's really kind of fun. He's a nice guy.
It's a bit of a milestone. You were there for Kimbo.
I was there for Kimbo Gate, and if you look at the pictures, with Seth knocking him out, you see me sitting there caged, like, oh my God. So there was kind of a crossover with MMA and boxing that I was covering for some time, and then Wade, who my husband, and I started MMA HEAT in around 2007 or so. We definitely could see that it was growing. The sport was really growing, and we really enjoyed it. And it was something that we could do on our own time and start to build, and then it became something we ended up doing full time. So it was great.
So what's it like actually working with your husband in a job like this?
It depends on the day. Bottom line is it's always good because that the person working with you is never going to undermine you. They're not trying to make you look bad. Sometimes depending on where you work, or there's competition between you and your coworkers, or what I mean. There's that. True. So that's out the window. There's none of that because
I assume he's not going to try to sabotage you.
Exactly. You're both working toward the same goal. So that can be great. But you get on each other's nerves sometimes. You just do. And then you can't be like, ugh, at least I'm done with work and I'm leaving. Hey, wow, there you still are. You know what I mean? And in that, and especially when we're here, as it's all about efficiency and getting things done quickly. And I'm doing this. You do that. I just finished that. And so there are times when you can both be tired and hungry, and can get a little curt with each other. But at the end of the day, that we're both just working toward making the MMA HEAT stuff great. So it's all good. Yeah.
Now, when was it you started reporting for Fox Sports as well?
In 2012, I guess it was. The first show actually I did with them was in Sweden. So it was cool. I worked on that one doing the reporting backstage. And from there, just kind of grew into, did some of the reporting, but really anchoring is what I had done so much more before. I did a lot of reporting, but I wasn't anchor for CNN and, all this stuff. So that's really where I feel the most comfortable. Not that I love talking to people, so reporting in the interviewing is really fun, but I really like, being at Command Central at the desk and having my guys and my analysts and this and that. To me is really fun. I have a great time with them.
Now, obviously, working for just MMA HEAT has a little bit of a different circumstances when you count into also working for Fox Sports. Do you ever feel that working for Fox Sports has affected the way you ask questions, or which questions you ask, or any way that you work?
It can. I guess when you're on the air there, you certainly use different language, and before I started working with them, when I would see these fighters, not that I'm swearing or whatever, but a lot of stuff is a lot looser and goofy, and I think there may have been a little bit of that that I don't do that as much sometimes because now I was like, well, I'm at Fox and I have to make sure that I say the right thing. Yeah. So we've actually, and it's funny because we haven't done as many things in the gyms. I've been busy at Fox, so we went to King's MMA last week or a week and a half ago and talked to Fabricio Verdum and Benil Dariush and Rafael Cordero, and it was fun. It felt really good to get back, to where we used to, where we used to hang out, and so it was
back
fun.
To your roots.
Yeah, and we were hanging out with them and watching them train, and it was nice to get back into that looser style and not feel like you have to be, an interview has to be done in 3.5 minutes or certain. So it was nice to kind of let them breathe again. It felt good.
Now, you've done a lot of interviews. I remember back before when I was just a fanboy watching, the internet. I remember seeing like yours and Ariel's interviews. Yeah. Are there any interviews in particular that stand out for you, for better or worse?
Well, Quentin, obviously.
I was going to ask about that one.
Quentin is like the all-time,
the Jamaican me horny thing.
Yeah. Well, the thing that was interesting about that interview was, he's so funny and so playful, and he doesn't offend me. Yeah. It takes a lot to offend me, and he never touched me. It was all, a goof. But it was interesting about that video is that's the one that really got us noticed. For some people, they thought it was a negative thing. But for me, it was like, okay, we're joking around here. If this is the video that makes you come to my channel and see all the other videos that are completely unlike that and that are, substantive and quote unquote real, interviews, that's fine. Some people really thought, oh, that's terrible. And it's terrible for women reporters. No, it's not. It's a joke. And I'm the one who gets to say if I'm offended or not. And I wasn't. He's hilarious. So that's definitely one of them. There are some, I'm trying to think, there are some, like I remember there was one that I did with Jose Aldo. He came to LA and I did the whole thing, in Portuguese, and I was like, check myself out. Like, I was really proud of that. That was just something I feel good about because it's a process learning another language, as you know. Yeah. And it was nice to get to a place where I was like, okay, I feel good, feel good about doing this. And I'm a huge Jose Aldo fan, so like, hello. So that was pretty
Who isn't?
great. Yeah, no, right? Dude, come on. It's now I know I'm going to walk away and I'm going to go, oh, I should have told him this one or I should have told him that one. I mean, there's been a lot. There's been a lot that have just been really just fun, good people.
So you keep touching on the questions that I'm about to ask before I get there. Portuguese. Yeah. I didn't actually know about that. I remember, I think it was UFC 168 when we were doing a media scrum with William Macario.
Oh, okay.
And all of a sudden you started busting out the Portuguese and like translating your own stuff. And I just looked and I was just thinking like, where did that come from?
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing is that actually the seed of the idea. First and foremost, I decided to learn Portuguese because, as you know, tons of Brazilians. And really what it was is I was at a Strikeforce show years ago in San Jose. And, when you're walking through the lobby and you're trying to, you're hanging out in the Fighter Hotel, it's like all the Brazilians are over there and everybody else is over there. And it was like, hey, you know what? If there's not a manager around, if there's not an interpreter around, these people are all unavailable. Yeah. That's stupid. You know what I mean? I was like, that's just dumb. And I really wanted to make a mark in the sport. I've been a journalist for a long time. I like to think I'm pretty clever. And I was like, hey, I can learn another language. I know Spanish and stuff. And so I was like, well, I should do this. So I remember I was like, okay, I'm going to buy Rosetta Stone and I'm going to do this. So this was quite some time ago. I mean, this might have been like 2008 or 9 or so. I've worked through that, all the Rosetta Stone and other things. I have programs. I have Globo at my house on TV. I do all this stuff, and I really try to study some of it every single day. And the great thing about it was that the Brazilian guys started to realize, hey, wait a minute. If I'm looking at a room of a bunch of Americans, there's one person that I will feel a little bit more comfortable with here. So it was great. A lot of people started to come to me first, and it really helped get a great relationship. I have a great relationship with Verdum and, Hoff and all these guys, Vanderlei, all these guys, because of something that I just was like, I should do this. It's smart. And I feel like, and then I get comments from fans that say, hey, that shows us a lot of respect, that you cared enough. And you didn't just go, why don't you speak English? Yeah. You know what I mean? So to me, it was great. And when I go to Brazil, I blend in. They all speak to me in Portuguese by default. So I was like, yeah, it's cool. I like it. And, I like to, I just like to challenge myself. I like to learn. I don't want to stop learning things.
So you started out, you and your husband, you start MMA HEAT. After that, you learn Portuguese, then you move on to Fox Sports. What's the next milestone for you?
Well, I told my guys at Fox, I was like, so listen, yeah, there's some Olympics coming up in Brazil. And I was like, I want to be embedded there. And so I've planted that seed. Because to me, I mean, that would be amazing to just be in Brazil for the Olympics. So that's one thing I want to do. I really, I would. There's other ideas for television shows that I would like to do. So when I get the ideal show that I want to do, which a combination of interviews and various things, that to me would be a huge deal. I do a lot of things that I love, but I would love to originate a show and get it on there and feel like that I created that and that's doing well and people are responding to it. That would be pretty great.
But when's the MMA late night talk show coming?
Exactly. How do you know? That's pretty much, it's not the idea I have, but it's that vibe on certain things. Because really, I've done so many interviews and things over the years and television. Like, I feel comfortable there, and I feel like I'm good at making other people comfortable. I feel like, I could get a good vibe going. So why don't we call Fox? This is what I've been trying to tell them.
Come on, Fox.
It all comes down to the money. A lot of the time, that stuff is just, that's a great idea. We just need some money.
Well, in the end, it is all about the Benjamins, so I've heard from factual rap songs.
Oh, is that, it is.
That's where I get most of my information
is
from.
That really? Did you hear about Suge Knight? He just ran somebody over, they said.
Yeah, I'm not surprised, but it's terrible.
Not surprised.
Now, in this business, there's a lot of, unfortunately, negativity in the comment section. I've been subjected to it as well. People talking crap.
What did they say about you?
Well, I remember when I did an interview with Michael Bisping, and the highest rated comment was somebody trashing the way that I looked, and it had nothing to do with the interview. They said that like, oh, you look like shit. You look like you just woke up and you slept in the same suit between every interview. So my question: what's the worst thing someone's ever written to you in a comment?
Well, the worst thing someone's ever written to me, let's see, back when I first started, people would say things that were just totally racist, which is ridiculous and very discouraging because it's nothing you can change. I mean, like, I'm okay if you wrote something that was valid that, well, this, that, I don't know. Most of the things that you hear in an internet comment are not valid, though. Yeah. But so the racist things really hurt me. But then those eventually went away for the most part. The thing that bothered me was that no matter who I interviewed, people would comment that we engaged in some sort of sexual activity after the interview, like over and over and over. And I did this and did that. And meanwhile, my husband is the cameraman, so it didn't happen. Yeah. It's not happening, and that. That was kind of difficult because it was just so stupid. And then you think, okay, it's just a bunch of 14-year-olds maybe writing that, But that kind of thing was ridiculous. I mean, you're always going to hear you're ugly, you're fat, you don't know anything, you're stupid. But the like racist stuff really is bothersome because I can't change that. Yeah. And I just don't like knowing there's that much hate out there. That's just makes you sad.
It's interesting, well, because we're both mixed race, and it's like, how can you focus on just one of those when it's like, well, I'm also a little bit like you. I mean,
I know, and maybe that bothers them more. I think what a lot of the comments, we all talk about what haters, what they're about. I think, certainly it comes from their own personal misery, that it's clearly envy. I think a lot of the time people are just mad that, if I'm sitting there and I'm doing this interview with somebody that they love, they're just so mad that it's not them. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And so, oh God, I hate her for living my dream, or something like that. I don't know. And that's the thing that's frustrating about the sexual stuff. Again, is like, oh, well, I know how she got that job. It's not how I got the job. I guarantee you, it's not. So that kind of thing can be, just, I don't know. You can't get caught up in that stuff too much, or it can really bum you out.
And just to clear up the rumors, I did not have to have sex with Burrell to interview him. Now, to round off here...
it's funny you picked Hennen, though,
He's a champion.
He's a champion. Yeah, he was. TJ's the man.
Was the champion.
Look at that. You got to step up to TJ now.
Yeah,
true. TJ a little.
True. I guess I'll have to, give him a little happy ending or something.
Oh, my God. That's hilarious.
Well, so far he's the only champ. Oh, no, Jones as well. Now that I come think about it. Okay. I need to get more champions. That's the point.
You need to get the champs. You've never talked to Ronda?
No, I'm not that high on the journalist scale to get Ronda yet.
Right. Yeah, she's tough to get now. She's hard to get. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean she's harder to get than a scholarship from
Totally.
the poorest part of the USA.
Totally.
So now to round off, you've obviously come a long way from MMA HEAT to Fox Sports. What advice do you have for any aspiring journalists, reporters, be it MMA or any other area?
If I had to give advice to somebody specifically trying to cover MMA, I would say, don't expect to, make tons of greenbacks. Not the Benjamins that you think you're going to get. It's very difficult to make a solid living just only doing this. Yeah. But even with that in mind, you really need to love it and want to be here, because it's not easy. It's not like, oh, we just rolled into town and went to some fights. It's not like that. We sit there, we spend hours, uploading videos and editing videos only to get somebody writing a stupid ass comment, complaining about free things. Yeah. But really, know that it's going to be hard work. It's not easy. And like you just said, you haven't gotten to interview the champs yet. Well, you have to work your way up. You have to earn it. You have to know what you're talking about. Don't pretend to know more than you actually do, because to me, I find it really annoying when you'll hear an interviewer start talking to a fighter. Yeah, I know during your last fight that you were probably thinking such and such when this happened in the fight, and this. The guy's like, no, I wasn't. Yeah. You're not. Shut up. You're not a fighter. So don't pretend to know, what it's like to be a fighter if you're not really a fighter. Know what you know, and don't be afraid to just ask a question, but be prepared. Know what you're talking about.
Very, very good advice from one of the best in the business, Karyn Bryant, everybody.